It's just getting to be redundant. And we're getting tired of coming here, not having the laws followed, not having a meeting.
I will be seeking arrests for individuals involved. I will be pressing charges.
Tiffany Henyard, the so-called super mayor of Dothan, Illinois, has recently attracted a great deal of attention, and not for the right reasons. From chaotic village board meetings to mounting rumors about extravagant spending, questionable appointments, and even disputes over rent payments, Henyard's time in office has been marked by controversy. As her reputation grows increasingly tarnished, the question arises, is she truly the dynamic leader she claims to be, or is she simply a politician in over her head?
Micah, tonight was a special board meeting because business has not gotten done at 2 previous meetings, so that's some progress there, but this meeting was not without its fair share of
The latest bombshell surrounding Tiffany Henyard's controversial spending has sent shockwaves through the Dalton community. Former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot, hired as a special investigator by Dalton Village trustees, has uncovered some shocking revelations. At a recent public meeting, Lightfoot revealed that under Henyard's leadership, the village's general fund balance plummeted from over $5 million in April 2022 to a staggering $365 million deficit by May 2024. Yes, you read that right, in just 2 years, the village went from a healthy surplus to millions of dollars in the red. So, how did this happen? Lightfoot's report offers some insight. It turns out that Henyard has been racking up thousands of dollars in charges on the village's credit cards, with purchases from retailers like Amazon, Target, Walgreens, and Wayfair. One particularly eye-popping example is a single Amazon purchase on January 5, 2023, that totaled more than $33,000, yet that wasn't the only charge that day. There were 2 more transactions, totaling nearly $10,000 combined. What's even more alarming is that receipts for these purchases are reportedly often missing, leaving no paper trail to justify the spending. For many in Dalton, this has been nothing short of a slap in the face. Kiana Belter, a concerned resident, voiced what many others are feeling, calling it a blatant disregard for the community's trust and resources. And she's not alone. Many are left asking how such reckless spending could have been allowed to go unchecked for so long.
Dalton home that she leased to Mayor Tiffany Henyard has filed eviction papers. She says Henyard has not paid her rent, and now...
But the spending spree doesn't end there. Lightfoot's investigation has revealed even more troubling findings. The village owes millions to vendors, with at least 589 checks totaling over $6 million approved and printed but never actually sent out. So, not only is Dalton hemorrhaging money, but it's also failing to pay its bills, leaving local businesses and contractors high and dry. If that wasn't enough, Lightfoot's team also discovered that 2 police officers were paid overtime that exceeded their annual salaries. One officer, whose base salary was just over $87,000, earned more than $114,000 in overtime alone. Another officer, with a salary of $73,000, brought in over $102,000 in overtime. How is this even possible, especially in a financially struggling village? For many residents, this is the height of mismanagement and an example of priorities completely out of whack.
Now she's teasing a big announcement that she claims will result in some of her opponents being arrested and charged.
Of course, Henyard was conspicuously absent from the meeting where Lightfoot presented these explosive findings. In fact, she hasn't been present at many key meetings recently, choosing instead to make headlines for other reasons like changing the locks at Village Hall, clashing with trustees, and even bringing 2 criminal defense attorneys to a recent village board session. When it comes to responding to the mounting criticism, Henyard has fired back in her own defense. At a separate public meeting, she reminded everyone that, in her words, she is the leader according to Henyard. The trustees are simply running their mouths and not doing any real work. She claims they are obstructing her efforts to pay bills and keep the village functioning smoothly. But the question remains, is that really the case? Or is Henyard deflecting responsibility for the financial mess she's helped create?
You are a clown. We will continue to speak out against wrongdoing. Why won't you step down?
The pressure on Henyard is mounting, and the calls for her resignation are growing louder. Trustees like Jason House and Brittany Norwood have been vocal in their criticism of Henyard's reckless spending and her refusal to provide clear explanations for it. House specifically pointed out that vendors aren't being paid, even though the board has already approved the payments. He raised the obvious question, what is really going on here? Norwood, for her part, called on Henyard to show true leadership and be transparent about where the money is going. Instead of offering clear answers, Henyard dismissed her critics as grandstanders and took things a step further by playing the race card, accusing them of attacking her simply because, as she put it, "You all are black, it's a bold if divisive move." But the question remains, is it enough to deflect attention from the serious financial mismanagement and lack of accountability? So far, the answer seems to be no. The backlash against Henyard has only intensified. Many residents are fed up, and the demand for her to step down is growing louder. Valeria Stubbs, a former Dalton trustee, didn't mince words, stating that Henyard needs to be locked up and made an example of. It's harsh, but for a small village like Dalton, where many residents are struggling to make ends meet, Henyard's extravagant spending feels like more than just a misstep. To many, it's a betrayal.
Henyard's landlord showed up here to see her tenant in person after she says Henyard has been dodging both her and rent payments for months.
It's not just about the money. Henyard's leadership style, or lack thereof, has been a major source of frustration for many. One glaring example is her handling of law enforcement. While the village faces a financial crisis, Henyard has reportedly assigned several police officers to act as her personal security detail. These officers are racking up overtime hours, being paid to follow her around rather than patrolling the streets and ensuring the safety of residents. Brittany Norwood has called attention to this issue, noting that many residents don't feel safe because so many officers are diverted to protect Henyard instead of performing their actual duties. Even Dalton's former police chief, Lewis Lacey, who was fired earlier this year, has spoken out, blaming budget cuts for the lack of police presence in the village. But Norwood countered, pointing out that the issue isn't about police officers not doing their jobs, it's about how they're being assigned. And when you look at the numbers, it's hard to argue with her. $1 million in overtime pay for a village of Dalton's size is simply absurd.